We are here once again. Take two.
Take two.
We are here with the magnificent Steph Singz. Welcome to Bars on the Road.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you for sitting down with us for a second time.
We have to tell that story.
Yes, we do have to tell that story. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, I mean, since we're doing a proper, I won't say proper, but a formal way of doing this interview now. Let's start from the beginning with you. So one of the things that jumped out to me, because I'm a huge fan of Philly soul. You know what I'm saying? Like, some of my favorite singers are like from Philly. Like, I know you have.
Yes.
You talked about Phyllis Hyman.
Yes,
talked
yes,
about Jill
yes,
Scott.
yes,
You know what I'm
yes.
saying? And then just like a lot of the other people that you list as influences. Like, I know you have Roberta Flack on there.
Yes, yes,
Jean
yes.
Carn.
Yes.
Angela Bofield. And what I found interesting about that, like, kind of tied into our original conversation, was like the difference in those sounds. Like the difference in like each one of those women sound different. Like none of them sound like the other. Like Stephanie Mills does not sound like Phyllis Hyman.
Right.
Phyllis Hyman does not sound like Jean Carn.
Right.
Jean Carn doesn't sound like Roberta Flack, who doesn't sound like Jill Scott, who doesn't sound like Angela Bofield. Nobody sounds like Angela Bofield. She's really somebody who has like a really unique voice.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
for you, in finding your voice, like figuring, like, because you said you were singing like pretty much like you were singing before you were talking.
Anybody. When I first started singing, I didn't know that I was emulating other people. But as I got a chance to continue to sing from like 5 on up, I noticed that the feedback was, you know, Steph can sing that Tina Marie song really good.
Yeah.
Because I found a way to recreate that sound with my voice, so I can sound like, it's almost like a chameleon, under the moon and over the sky, you know?
Yeah.
So, oh gosh, one day I just realized that I didn't have to be afraid of my individual sound. It was always there, but I was afraid to explore it because it didn't have that check off as being good. But when somebody said I sound like, that was synonymous with you sound good.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I didn't allow myself to feel and listen to my own voice outside of those other already established artists.
Yeah.
And so when I decided that I could like my own sound, it came out like something like this. You know, you sing such and such song, but I like your version better. I'm like, So, and I started hearing that.
Yeah.
Not to overshadow the originals, but I think I probably put a little bit of Stephanie, whoever she was, into it, and it was validated.
Yeah.
And then once it started being validated, then I could like go over to that side a little bit more and a little bit more. Before I know it, we have fluid emotions.
Yes indeed. Yes indeed. And what I appreciate about you saying that is, and I don't want to make this about me, but just saying it from a perspective of being able to relate to that. And I think a lot of hip hop producers who can sample and do their own music can relate to this. But I remember like being younger and kind of like finding my own voice, so to say. And people would always love the songs that I sampled. But when it came to like my original stuff, people were slower to kind of sort of embrace it, you know, and like that similarity in what you're talking about, like everybody would want you to sing such and such song. Right. But like you had to find your own voice in the midst of that and put your own spin on things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because I really felt accomplished if I sang a Jean Carn song. As a matter of fact, I won Miss Black Penn State on the Jean Carn song, Everything Must Change. Right? And it was like, oh, she sounds like Jean Carn. And I was like, yes.
That's not easy to do.
Right? But little did I know that wasn't Stephanie.
Right.
And so how would you like, or how would you connect with Stephanie if you don't know what she sounds like.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what I had to kind of like grapple with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, and I hear it all the time, girl, you sound like Stephanie Mills.
Yeah.
My family sound like.
Right.
Right.
And
Right.
and I gave that face not because I don't appreciate the beauty and the strength of Stephanie Mills' voice, but that was validating Stephanie Mills and
Right.
invalidating
Right.
Stephanie.
Right.
And I'll be like, well, I wonder if you're going to accept me for me at some
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that was a difficult transition.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And that's difficult because you don't want to. Another thing is you don't want to get pigeonholed
Right.
as an artist because as you were talking, I thought about it's this young lady out here who legit sounds just like Whitney Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Like you close your eyes, you think you're like listening to Whitney.
Right.
But the problem is because she sounds so much like Whitney. Exactly.
You can't do anything else.
Right.
It's like being a child actor.
Mm-hmm.
Like he can't play. Like when I watched the person who played the lead role in Harry Potter, I'm like, dude, you're Harry Potter. I can't. This is not serious.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes we can get stuck. People will pigeonhole us, and it's hard to get out of that because it's not something you do to yourself. It's something that happens from outside of you.
Right.
And if the other variables are outside of you is what pushes you forward, then you're trapped.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You're trapped. Because you can always say, you know what? I want to wear a blue jacket today.
Yeah.
Right? Society was like, no, you got to wear that blue jacket forever.
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. So, I kind of alluded to it earlier, but being from Philly, like, you kind of said this, I forget how you termed it, like, an energetic bubble. I think that's how you phrased it. For you, being from Philly, like, what makes Philly so special? Because, like, I know for me, like, I'm not from there, but, like, I always tell people that's one of my favorite era of music is 70s Philly soul.
Yep.
And so,
Yep.
like, I just feel like it was a really special time. And that time, you know, it's manifested itself in different ways, in different types of music from Philly, whether you're talking about hip-hop, whether you're talking about R&B, even pop, even rock music.
Yeah.
Like, Philly is just a very special place. So
It is.
for you, growing up there, having your musical roots shaped there, like, what's that like? Like, what separates Philly from everywhere else for you?
Well, when you talk about that era that you just referenced, I believe that was an era where people were just singing from their heart.
Yeah.
And they weren't singing for appeal of anyone else. They weren't creating songs for chart toppers. If it hit the chart, wonderful, and more times than not than it did, because it resonated from a place that wasn't superficial.
Yeah.
Philly music is very kind of like soulful.
Yeah.
But you know what's interesting about Philly? I believe, and I haven't done statistical, so don't quote me. But even from my own family perspective, I always say that I'm a northern girl with southern roots.
Okay.
And a lot of people from Philly have migrated from the South.
Okay.
And that kind of soul, kind of in your face, kind of deep emotional connection to self was in that era.
Yeah.
And so you had the Teddy Pendergrass, and you had Phyllis Hyman, you had Patti LaBelle, then Boys to Men, and then I think at some point the music transitioned from being authentic to being too commercial. And it kind of lost its kind of like a savor.
Yeah.
I kind of stopped listening to music after like, really honestly, like maybe the late 90s, because I started feeling like I wasn't getting filled with that savor of that emotional connection.
Yeah.
And I think when I've emerged now with the music that I'm presenting to the world, it's kind of in a time warp. I'm in a time warp because I'm bringing music back the way I used to like to hear it.
Yeah.
And so it's not going to sound, it's not antiquated, but you can't compare it with what's happening right now.
Very true.
But you can definitely listen to it right now because it takes you to a place that you go, whoa, that's deep. And the beat is current. You know, the production is awesome. So that Philly thing, I think, is kind of like a whisper of the South. It's the whisper of the South.
I like that.
Because when I listen to, sometimes I listen to myself and I told you in the last interview, I told you about my various masks, right? And so when Dr. Stephanie is giving a dissertation and I'm doing a keynote speaking address, we're going to execute things this way. That's her.
Yeah.
But when I listen to myself sometimes and I'm just me, I have like my grandmother's twang. And it kind of like startles me for a second. I go, well, I didn't know I sound like that.
Yeah.
That was me without my mask on.
Yeah.
And my grandmother was from Greenville, South Carolina, I believe.
Okay.
I know Grandma.
Right? And that side of my family,
Yeah.
whew,
My mom's from Sumter.
Southern.
You might be in my family.
Right?
Yeah.
Southern.
Hold on. Sumter,
Something.
South Carolina. That's where my family from.
Well, oh, see, we all related. Come on
Right.
now.
Right.
My mom's from Sumter,
Yeah.
South Carolina.
And so I think that kind of energy from the South migrated to the North, and that's what we got.
Yeah.
And I kind of got stuck in that kind of time warp, and I never wanted to leave it.
Yeah.
The newer music doesn't feed my spirit.
Right.
It's commercial, which is cool. But if you're a true artist, then you're gonna sing or write or play from your soul.
Right.
And another artist or a person who's a lover of music will connect with you soul to soul. And that's what that Philly sound is about.
Yeah. I think that's what always jumped out to me about Philly, and not to say that any other place doesn't have that.
Yeah,
but it's
sure.
Philly's a special place to me. Like, I mean, it's so much history there. It's so much Black culture there. You know, that really doesn't get talked about a lot, but it's so much of it that's there. And I mean, I don't know, any place that got like as great food as Philly got. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like, it's somehow, ekes out in the music somehow.
You know what? You might have something there. You might have something there because it's always the houses that had the music. Like, y'all had block parties in Maryland?
Yeah.
So you know about the black parties.
Yeah.
Wherever there was good music, there was always good food.
True.
Right?
True. Very true.
It was like, yo, they having a block party on some other street.
Yeah.
They were like, word, they gonna have food though? And the music would just kind of permeate. And what the music did was it connected us. And we had such a warm connection. It wasn't about... That's why music is so powerful. If we don't pay attention to the lyrics and the beats and the 428 hertz or the 528 hertz, right? Because vibrations of music can affect your brain.
Absolutely.
And your brain can affect your behavior.
Absolutely.
And so I don't know if people were aware of that back then, but they're aware of it now, and it's deliberately being used.
Right. Yeah.
Right? And so when you create music now, I think it's incumbent upon the artist to make sure you put back the love in.
Right.
So you can help people heal. Music is a healing tool.
Absolutely.
It's a healing tool.
Yes.
It washes the senses. It cleanses the soul. Children are made through music. Come on now,
Yes, they are.
right?
That's right.
Hearts are mended with music. Right?
Uh-huh.
You got a broken heart. Listen to something. You be like, oh, I feel so much better after I didn't cry the river.
The song Cry River.
Exactly.
There you go.
Right?
That's right.
So yeah, I love my roots. I love my. One of the things that I did, I went to Philly last weekend, and I was in Max's.
Yes.
Man,
Max's. Talk about good food.
yeah, it was good food. And one of the things that I felt instantly when I walked in, I felt a connection to the people. And when people go, Philly has these in Baltimore, but I'm never afraid of my own people.
Yeah.
When I walk into a place, I feel nothing but love. And so I go, hey, how y'all doing? What's up, fam? And they be like, oh, hey, how you doing, sis? And then the conversation will start.
Yeah.
I'm never intimidated to walk down streets of my own city. It's like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, I don't know where it comes from sometimes.
Yeah.
That sense of fear. But it doesn't have to happen if you're grounded and rooted.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And good music is grounding and rooting in a positive place.